Today we want to share with you the events that struck the world in every way. First, the terrible earthquake in Morocco, which left behind devastation and countless difficulties for the locals. Secondly, Greece experienced a powerful storm that left hundreds of people homeless over their heads. In China, a city was completely submerged after flooding and a typhoon hit. In Brazil, there was a deadly flood that left an entire city underwater. And we also have information about a shark attack on a catamaran with Russian travelers. There is news about the freedom of the participants of the Burning Man Festival in Nevada. And finally, we have an interesting report about workers who made an opening in the Great Wall of China. Let's begin to get a handle on all of these developments. Let's start with the tragedy that took place in Africa. There was a powerful earthquake in Morocco, and according to the latest data, more than 2,000 people were killed and more than 2,000 more suffered when the country was shaken on the night from Friday to Saturday. It is important to note that there are no Russian citizens among the victims of this earthquake, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry. The epicenter of the earthquake, whose magnitude reached 7, was located in the commune of Idjil, about 80 kilometers southwest of Marrakesh, and its origin lay at a depth of about 10 kilometers. Authorities reported a lot of destruction, especially in Marrakesh and Agadir. According to seismologists, the tremors were felt within a radius of 400 kilometers from the epicenter, including major Moroccan cities such as Casablanca, Kenitra, Rabat, and Essaouira. Scientists reported that this earthquake was caused by compression caused by the movement of the African tectonic plate towards the Eurasian plate. A street hospital was set up in Marrakesh to help the victims, and members of the Royal Armed Forces as well as planes, helicopters and drones came to the rescue. At the moment, there have been serious problems with electricity and cell phone service in the areas affected by the earthquake. One of the historical symbols of Marrakesh, the Al-Koutoubia Mosque, the largest in the city, suffered significant damage, including the partial collapse of its 69-meter minaret. It is worth mentioning that before that, a strong earthquake in Morocco occurred on February 24, 2004, when the magnitude of the tremors in the north of the country was 6.3, and 628 people died as a result of this disaster. A powerful cyclone named Daniel has hit Greece hard, particularly affecting the town of Trikala, located in the northwest of Thessaly. We have access to aerial images that show flooded streets and the Litios River overflowing its banks. One local resident said the storm started on Thursday morning and by late afternoon the water was already rising to knee-high. Greeks have expressed frustration at having to deal with the flooding themselves, as they claim they have received no government assistance. Fortunately, some people found pumps and were able to pump the water out of their homes on their own. According to Minister for Climate Crisis and Civil Protection Vasilis Kakilias, at least 10 people have fallen victim to the cyclone. Despite the efforts of emergency services, the situation in the Thessaly region remains tense. Periodic rains have occurred, making it difficult to restore critical infrastructure, including electricity supply. The heaviest rains China has experienced in nearly 140 years have brought terrible trouble. Record rainfall was recorded in Hong Kong and Shenzhen, in the south of the country. In Hong Kong, these downpours and floods caused more than 100 casualties and at least one victim. Shenzhen, for its part, recorded the heaviest rains in the history of weather observations. So, on Friday night, meteorologists declared the highest black storm warning ever. In just 1 hour, over 158 millimeters of rain fell in Hong Kong, and over the course of the day, the figure was a terrifying 600 millimeters, equivalent to a quarter of the annual norm. In response to this natural disaster, Hong Kong authorities had to cancel classes at schools and temporarily suspend public transportation on the ground. citizens were advised to stay inside their homes and wait for further instructions. The situation in southern China was also grim. Record rainfall was observed in Guangdong province, where up to 526 millimeters of precipitation fell in a day. In Shenzhen, rainfall intensity exceeded historic highs. Branches of the city's subway were flooded, many streets were underwater, and the water level reached the second floor of buildings. Rescue crews had to navigate the streets in rubber boats, and many cars were stranded in the water. There were 2 preliminary casualties and more than 100 people were injured. A tragic deluge has hit southern Brazil, and according to media reports, at least 37 people were unable to survive after the cyclone hit the region. Another 9 residents are among the missing. A storm with heavy rain and winds attacked southern Brazil earlier this week, affecting more than 50,000 people. Up to 300 millimeters of rain fell in less than 24 hours, causing widespread flooding. More than 5,000 people have been forced to leave their homes for safety reasons. According to local journalists citing experts, this is the largest natural disaster of its kind in 40 years. Drone images show the devastating effects of the flooding, filmed in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, where entire neighborhoods have been submerged. Dozens of homes were severely damaged or completely destroyed. Thousands of rescuers were sent to the scene to combat the disaster and provide aid to those affected. The Burning Man Festival brought together participants not only from the United States, but also from many other countries around the world. However, after unexpected downpours, many were stranded in the desert. Roads were washed out and both cars and vans could get stuck in the mud, causing all exits to be closed. The difficult conditions forced several tens of thousands of festival goers to stay there for several days. Eventually, when the ground dried out, festival organizers opened the roads for exit and participants could finally leave the desert and return to their daily activities. A catamaran belonging to the Russian Geographical Society and on a round-the-world voyage encountered a shark attack off the coast of Australia. At some point, the vessel began to sink, and the lives of the crew members were in danger. Fortunately, the Australian Maritime Safety Authority came to the rescue and rescued 2 Russians and a French citizen. This catamaran was on a voyage to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the birth of Krusenstern and the 200th anniversary of the discovery of Antarctica. The 10-meter-long vessel left Vanuatu and headed for the northeast coast of Australia. However, both hulls of the catamaran were later damaged in several shark attacks. The rescued crew was brought safely to Brisbane on a cargo ship. 2 Chinese citizens decided to create a passageway in the Great Wall of China using an excavator. Their motivation was to reduce travel time to their place of work and avoid bypassing the wall. However, their decision was necessary to widen an already existing passageway in the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Thanks to the construction equipment they used, it was possible to detect their actions. The detainees confessed that they had decided to create a passage, or rather widen an existing one, in order to shorten the road to the site. As a result, they were charged with the destruction of a cultural relic. Friends, first of all, we would like to express our sincere condolences to the people of Morocco who have suffered such a terrible fate. We send them our mental words of support and wish strength and patience to the relatives of the victims, as well as a speedy recovery to the injured. As for the horrific casualties of this accident, they could have been caused by a variety of factors. It is likely that they could have been caused by insufficient structural stability and dilapidated buildings, as well as by other circumstances.